Welcome to Home and Away, a Tottenham Hotspur podcast hosted by myself, Graeme Spice, and Glen Cowie, where we discuss all things Tottenham Hotspur with both the match attending and international supporters view. Glen, are you good?
I'm good. Really good. Two of my favourite people here, look. I'll introduce my guest, or our guest. Yeah, I'm good, mate. And Rossi Biddle joining us. I was thinking about this, Rossi, last night. I should have just come round yours. It would have been far easier.
Could have just hung out. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's just round the corner. So welcome to your first appearance on Home and Away, Rossi. How are you, mate? Good to have you.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, good. Really good, actually. Quite excited by where we're going, apart from the lack of signings. I think that I'm really quite confident about this year that we're not going to finish 17th. So that's the first win.
We'll get into it, but I'm quietly optimistic as well. But before we get into that, Graeme, how are you, mate? Are you keeping well?
Yeah, I'm okay. Pretty good. Thomas and his girlfriend came down, spent the day with him on Saturday, so that was nice. I managed to give him his mugs, so he's had his mugs now.
You didn't embarrass him too bad in front of his girlfriend?
Well, I don't know. That's you'll have to ask him that. I tried my best. I also, annoyingly, I ordered myself a DH Gate special, the black kit, and it arrived on Friday.
Oh, nice one.
Let's just say that it comes up a bit snug. So Thomas now has one of those, and I don't. So I'll have to order a bigger one.
Is it as snug as the Kappa ones that used to be? Those skin tight ones?
I look like a Teletubby wearing one of those ones.
Do you like that kit, Rossi, the black one?
I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I like it.
It's
even better. It's even better.
I'm certainly historical. I like the sky blue and I like the yellow, but the black looks good.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for sure.
The yellow one this season looks a bit odd. It's got like a bib shape on it, isn't it? If I remember, like a blue, not like an outline of a. It looks a bit. I'm not a big fan.
Is it fact that the yellow one is going to have the old cockerel?
Yeah, in the centre of the chest. So.
Yeah. But isn't the Nike logo the wrong way or something?
Yeah.
I think it's that one. I have to go and have another look. It was never one I was going to wear. Yellow's a bit much for me. It's not good for my skin tone.
Well, I'm sure between the two of you, and this isn't an ageist joke, you've seen many, many kits, as we just discussed off air. I think you guys are about the same age. But Rossi, mate, why Spurs? And like any favourite or first memories or something that stands out to you that you're like, oh, mate, yeah, this, like, in terms of, but why Spurs? Did you get a choice?
No, my dad, my Saturdays, I'll tell you about my first memory in a second, but my Saturdays were very much that my dad, we lived in Canterbury, so a couple of hours outside of London. We'd go down to Coral, he'd put on the football pools, we'd catch a train, and then a Victoria line to Seven Sisters and make the walk. And it was, I'm pleased that I never actually had the choice, if I'm honest. I know a lot of Australians, when you talk about, I saw Liverpool once, I saw Man United once. For me, it's heritage. My dad, my uncle, my granddad, my great-granddad. I even have one of my family members actually played for Spurs back in the early 50s, or at least was on the books. I don't think he made too many appearances, but no, absolutely.
It's in the records.
No whatsoever. First memory was, unfortunately, it was a loss, but it was a loss to West Brom, where we went 3-0 down. It was in 1980.
Martin Yole maybe had been playing for West Brom at that time, was he? Because I know he did around that.
Brian Robson and Cyril Regis.
Oh, yeah.
They stood out. And when your first memory is John Lacey and Steve Perryman scoring for Spurs, it's not a good memory. At all. I was at the FA Cup final, Ricky Villiers. I didn't go to the original. I didn't go
just
to the
replay.
Saturday. I went to the replay. The following year, I went to both games, and I was behind wearing that shirt behind the goal for Tony Parks, making awesome saves. One of the key things for me about the European run this year, and I said this to Glen on a group chat, I've experienced winning the European trophy, and not for Ange or for anybody else. I actually wanted it for the next generation to at least taste some sort of success. Not just
it was exactly my thoughts as well. I said it on the pod as well. Is that I've seen it, done it. Yes, it's been a while, but I could live if we didn't do it again. But my kids started supporting about 2009. Felt like they would they for all the shit I put them through, they earned a trophy somewhere. And so I was really pleased for them more than anything. For me, I think it's important for a whole, as you say, or coming up for 2 generations of supporters that would not have seen it lift a European trophy, certainly. And then another 17 years is another 4 generations worth of kids that have probably been swearing at their parents for getting them into Tottenham for the last few years.
So that's certainly where I come from, was going in every other Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoffs on a Saturday, not 4 p.m. on a Sunday or anything else like that. That's how far I go back.
A purist.
God, they're few and far between now, aren't they, those 3 p.m. kickoffs?
I was going to say, certainly as we get into it, you wouldn't have had friendlies pre-season between Tottenham and Arsenal back in the day.
Certainly not in Hong Kong as well.
No, yeah, indeed. Well, pivot into pre-season, Graeme. Shamefully, I just watched the highlights of the Wickham game, as literally before we got on air. I didn't watch it live, but it was actually a decent kickoff for us. It was 8 p.m, but I was out and I had plans with a mate. First off, we were talking off air, but Graeme, what did you make of the 2 friendlies basically being a few hours apart? Obviously, one at the training ground and one away to Luton. But what did you make of that? Just minutes in the legs, and then Rossi, I'd be keen to get your view as well.
I think it was said beforehand that by Thomas Frank that that's what he wanted. He felt like he needed another game because, newsflash, we have a massive squad. It's way too big. It's bloated. You know, even with Champions League football, we had a 2 first 11s and a bench of substitutes times 2, and there were still players that didn't play. We still got players out injured, and another probably 5 or 6 players that could have been involved. So we probably got somewhere in the region of 40 players in contention for the first team squad, and he needs to make a decision on probably maximum 30. Right? No, that's probably high, even with the European football this season. So I guess he gets a chance to see everybody, give them all a run out. Even some of the youngsters got like 30, 40 minutes. I mean, I think he got what he wanted out of it, apart from it's obviously taking time to get his thoughts over to the players. It wasn't all perfect, and it will take time. My worry is we've now played relatively low ranked teams, like two League One teams, and the next 4 games are Arsenal, Newcastle, Bayern Munich, PSG, and that's before we even get to the start of the season. So I feel like these were opportunities for a bit of confidence building, and I didn't see much in the way of attacking threat, really. More injuries again, like Solanke out injured, Udogie out injured. I mean, I've got this horrible feeling that,
well, I said to Rossi,
there's some kind of hex on us.
In the group chat we're in, I said to Rossi, with the Udogie injury, that again just solidifies for me maybe why we keep a Ben Davies around. Like, I'm not saying he's as dynamic as a Udogie, but he can certainly do a very good job there, left back or left centre back.
But the issue is that we've gone on tour and he's our only recognised left back.
Yeah.
Which is pretty poor position to be in. I know that Jed Spence can play there, and even Van der Ven, I guess, at a squeeze. We've got enough centre backs at the moment. Yeah. No, exactly. So we're super compromised, and we're not even close to the start of the season yet. So I feel like a left back probably has to be something we have to look at in the window. Whether or not they'll think so, we'll see.
Rossi, you saw the highlights, mate. You saw the game. What did you make of it?
Yeah, for me, really reiterating Graham's point of view, the squad's just far too big. Having a split squad, talking about getting some confidence building, it was a split squad with kids and pros, and I just don't think you were ever going to learn anything in that particular situation that you didn't already know, other than a doggy seems to be made of tracing paper.
We seem to have a lot of them, don't we? Biscuit legs.
I've said this to Glen. I still think Davis goes if there's a bigger offer to go and play in Wales somewhere, whether that's Swansea.
Wrexham is the one that's always bandied about, right?
Yeah. I think he goes. I think we extended his year just to keep control, not necessarily just let him walk out the door because of Indogi more than anything else. I felt that both games, we didn't learn anything new about players. We just learned how Thomas Frank wants to play football. And I think that taking that into account, I'm okay with where we're at. I still think that on paper, our best 11 is certainly competitive against most teams, not named Liverpool. And I think that over this this period of time against the Arsenals and the Newcastles and the Bayern Munichs, we'll see the squad players relegated to the subs bench, and we'll be seeing our starting 11 come through ready for the PSG game that I don't know whether they're going to be tired or annoyed that they lost to Chelsea.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing for me in terms of splitting the squad as he did, it is minutes in the legs, as we've talked about. But with a new manager coming in, regardless of who we've signed, he obviously wants to get minutes in their legs and get a look at them. But he wants to probably look at everybody. In case in point, Mikey Moore. He's got to look at him, and now he's out the door to Rangers, which I think will do him the world of good as far as regular games for the kid. And I think we'll see more of that. But pivot into transfers, which we'll come back to the games in a moment, but just while I'm looking at his name, Archie Gray. Now, it's well documented that Frank wanted him at Brentford. We keep hearing that we need an experience or a new number 6 because Basuma isn't up to it. Do we think Archie Gray maybe goes out on loan as well? Or do you think he's firmly in his thinking and he gets that number 6 spot more often than not? Like, he's looked at him. Do we think we'll see more and more and more of him in pre-season now on the tour? He's in the squad, of course. But do you think maybe a loan could happen for someone like that? I mean, he's only 19.
My opinion is no. I think Gray stays with the squad. Don't get me wrong, he was horrible as a 6 in Ange's system. But I think there's a lot of mitigating circumstances with that. I think there was far too much expectation within Gray with potentially the transfer fee. Maybe we paid overs a little bit for him. And so the expectation came with that. I think Gray needs to have time to build into that number 6 role. Quick side note on Mikey Moore. Mikey Moore is now the highest paid player in Scotland.
There we go.
So
that's quite funny. Just speak about Archie Gray. Archie Gray was never meant to play 50 plus games last season, right? That was never supposed to be the case. So actually, he did us a solid because he played out of position for most of the season, and no one can doubt his commitment. And I thought that he was professional, and I was really impressed with him for such a young man to put under that kind of pressure for an entire season. I think he's
live a few times, didn't you, Graeme? Like when you were in the stadium, you said his football brain is very good.
There was a couple of times where he did play in midfield, or he played the ball out of defence, and he read the timing of the ball really well, and then brought the ball out and started an attack a couple of times. Really liked, especially in the European matches, he was more effective. I think he'll get the opportunity to work with Frank. I think Frank sees something in him. Obviously, has, because he's tried to buy him before. And I hope that maybe not as the first choice, but maybe in rotation, and he'll get to play maybe 20, 30 games this season, but in a position that we expect him to play, rather than hopefully not as a. If he's playing as a temporary centre back, we've gone through quite a lot of centre backs to get to him.
Yeah.
Again,
one player that hasn't been getting minutes, which I'm really quite frustrated by because he's injured, but it's Kulusevski, because I think he's going to be really important to Frank's system.
He won't start the season.
I saw something on YouTube about how he used Damsgaard, and whilst on its face you think Damsgaard is this flair player who plays in the number 10, whilst he can do that, and he did do that, he was actually utilised as a runner, and he would come out wide and he would pop up in areas where you wouldn't expect your number 10 to pop up. And that's where I think he's going to be using Kulusevski. It's just when's Kulusevski fit.
Yeah.
Rossi has a or Maddison, not too dissimilar to ours, Graeme, in the sense that I think Rossi can be a little more scathing on Maddison, but our view on Maddison is all too often we get a 2 or 3 out of 10 and then you get a 9. We'd rather you just got a 7 or 8. So I don't know if it is Maddison that actually gets there. I don't know. Well, you were going to say something there, though, Graeme.
So yeah, I Kulusevski, I don't think we'll be back till probably at least October.
Yeah,
I think Dragusin's was supposed to be the longest one out, but I still think he'll be back before Kulusevski because he's already doing grass work, which is mad considering the injury he had. Listen, I don't think I think we've talked about Maddison a lot now. Thomas will jump down on my throat after I say this, but I still think on his day he's probably he's the metronome that runs the whole team, but he doesn't turn up often enough and do that. I feel like I got a handful of games where I think he's, as you said, dropped a 9 or a 10, And the rest of the time, he's pretty anonymous. And I think we need more from him, or at least we need more from the player in that position, whether it's him or a Morgan Gibbs-White replacement.
Yeah, well,
whoever we
a
end up with,
replacement
if we
for a
are,
player that we never-
we certainly
yeah,
can't afford for him to be the only creative midfield person in the squad, because he's injured, which means we go and play Arsenal now. Who plays as a 10? It's not someone that's their normal position, right? We don't have it's Jamie Donnelly, probably the most obvious straight replacement in terms of just played that role consistently for other teams. Not a lot of first team experience. His debut as a 10 for us being against Arsenal would be something.
I'll come to you in a moment, Rossi, to get your view on, well, not your, well, I know your view, but I'm keen for our listeners and viewers to hear and see your view. But one thing to call out, we haven't really mentioned much about the Luton game because there really isn't much to talk about. So I don't know if we're going to even cover much of it. But Rossi, over to you, mate, on the Maddison kind of viewpoint and just that number 10, like, could Bergvall play there? Like, we're getting to the Gibbs-White saga in a moment, but over to you, Rossi, on your views on Maddison.
I might have been 12 months early. Glen is fully aware of my love of Bergvall.
Yeah.
I actually still owe Glen some money because I actually had a bet with Glen that Bergvall would be starting ahead of Maddison this time last year.
But he did, but not because of injury.
Yeah. But for me, I think Bergvall goes to the 10. In Frank's system, where running and the creativity of number 10, and then there's a follow-on effect for Solanke in this conversation. If we've got two injury-prone number 10s, Kulu and Maddison, we need somebody else. And obviously that's where Gibbs-White comes in or somebody else. I feel that Maddison is a 33% player. That's you get him 33% of the season. The other 66, 67 he's a waste of space. He's an absolute waste of space for me. He does nothing. He doesn't create anything. If he gets marked out of the game, more often than not, it's then we're playing with 10 men because he's not able to get around the pitch. Kulu's the same. For me, Kulu's adaptability to the 10, he sees the passes, he's very creative. But again, does he get out? Can he make those runs into the channels to then drag players in to allow more players to utilise that space? And again, that's really where that's the whole Solanke conversation comes in.
Those wide roles are different in a Frank team as well, right? They're not narrow. They stay out wide.
They have to go out wide. And that's why I still think there's going to be some more signings.
You would hope so.
I think, but Bergvall will play. For me, Bergvall should be in that 10 role until he's not. It wouldn't surprise me to see somebody like Bentancur get some minutes in that particular role as well.
Forward to advance, okay, yeah. Good shout. I mean,
it wouldn't surprise me to see that, especially if it's Gray and Basuma holding.
Well, let's not forget the Golden Europa League final was Bentancur in an advanced position, popping it back out. So I mean, he's obviously got it in his locker in terms of.
And then within that Frank system, if it's if he's playing the 4-2-3-1 with the two pivots, then I think that allows a little bit more luxury further up the pitch to allow a Bergvall who, facing his own goal makes some shocking mistakes, but moving forward, he sees the passes. Same with Bentancur.
Yeah. I mean, I guess put this to both of you, how damaging is not getting Morgan Gibbs-White over the line? Because it's funny, I was watching that interview, Rossi, and I didn't say anything on the group, and I'm glad you did, because I'm like, what am I watching? Like, this looks like a hostage video.
Like a hostage video.
Yeah. Yeah.
I reckon he had a knife in his back, a knife or a gun in his back.
Yeah, Rossi said, have you ever seen an interview of someone so unhappy to be signing an extension? But how damaging is that we didn't get it over the line? I mean, because for me, from what we know, we can only go off of what we know. It doesn't seem to be that it's on us. I don't know. Maybe you have a different opinion, but how critical was that signing for us moving forward? Do you feel like a Ramsey from Villa can offset some of that if we go in and get him? Graeme?
I think for me, the most damaging part about it is that it seems like we've sat on our arse for 2 weeks and waited. I don't see. Here's the thing, right? Everyone who always talks about Johan Langer and about how he does all his business in the shadows, and when it's all quiet, you don't hear about it until it happens. My worry is, well, I hope that's true. I really hope that's true, because at the moment there's nothing. It's like radio silence, and that really worries me. Equally, I'm worried that if we're planning on shipping players out, no one seems to be moving. I don't think anyone wants to leave, and I don't know how they overcome that, because we do need to ship players. If we can't bring in another 5 players when we're already talking about the fact that we've got such a massive squad. And also the squad still needs homegrown players. We're way short on homegrown players. Whitman went, so that's one out the squad that we will need to have another person in for. And even the kids who were 21, I think, aren't old enough to count as homegrown yet. They're still... Is it the B list? I don't know what they call it now, but there's a second list with the younger players on it. But so like there's the squad itself is full of players, not necessarily the right players, and not necessarily with cover in the right areas. We still need a 6 for sure. But that creative role, we've already said, with the injuries, the injury proneness of the players that we have who can play in that role, I don't think we can afford not to buy another one. And so yeah, it is damaging. It's not, put it this way, if we have other players lined up that can play in that role, it's not that damaging, as long as we can get someone equivalent
To your point,
that wants to play for us.
To your point on how Johan Langer works, the evidence is there, because none of us knew about that Gibbs-White deal, right? So maybe there would be another in the offing. But Rossi, you were pleasantly surprised when the news broke that it looked like we were going to get him. He was having a medical. But what's your view, mate? Like, do you feel we just have sat on our thumbs, or are you feeling optimistic, or what's your view, mate, overall on that particular position and that player that we didn't end up getting?
First and foremost, I'd say we don't actually know what the criteria around the release clause was. Because we all play Football Manager and we all see a release clause and we go, right, I'm going to match it, and you start talking to a player. Whereas it didn't seem like the 60 million, it wasn't an automatic accept from Nottingham Forest to go, okay, this player's actually out the door. We all thought it was, and I was super excited. I was ordering my black shirt with Morgan Gibbs-White on the back and everything.
But the thing, sorry, Rossi, the thing about that then, if we didn't meet the release criteria, why was Marinakis so upset? Because he could have just said no, because we didn't meet the criteria. I feel like I've seen this. I've seen a piece in an article saying that Tottenham didn't quite meet the. But that can't be true, because otherwise, why would he cry like a baby for 2 weeks? It doesn't make any sense to me. Because he could have been complete within his rights just to say no, and that would have been the end of it.
I want to know where we failed.
Yeah.
What is it that either we did or they did or an agent did that allowed Morgan Gibbs-White to have his family held hostage off of camera while doing an interview and saying Macarakis, 3 times in 45 minutes, saying how thankful he was to be there. It reminded me of when Gaddafi used to kidnap journalists back in the 80s, and they were always happy on the video.
Do you think that they traced the leak about the clause back to him and he threatened to sue him?
There's every chance.
Or something like that. He must have had something over him.
I heard the rumour, and I said this to Glen, I heard the rumour that it was Gibbs-White that let Brendan Johnson know that there is something in his contract. It wasn't an agent. It wasn't, Spurs weren't finding out stuff illegally. It was literally a case of going, there is some sort of release clause in my contract that says if you bid 60 million. I like what Alistair Gold said, which is, why don't you just go in at 55 and then you just go at 65? Once 55 gets rejected, obviously, and then just go in at 65 and it triggers and away you go. Feel like Spurs were a little bit, or Levy was, again, trying to get the upper hand. But I think that that release clause is probably a Netflix documentary in itself, to go, what's actually happened.
10 episodes.
What's happened over these 2 weeks?
The transfer that shook the nation.
Yeah.
But back to Glen's original question, it was a very pleasant surprise. As we've said, Lang does a lot of work in the shadows. It comes out of nowhere. And that's why historically we've been connected with every player, every top player. People have been coming for medicals. People have been talking about their image rights. They've been talking about anything that is in mainstream media. For me, I'm not excited about anymore. It's when it's announced. Fabrizio, obviously, here we go. Everybody loves a little here we go, and he actually did it for Gibbs-White. But I think we just move on. I don't think that it was pivotal to Frank. I'm going to assume that if our scouting department is doing anything particularly well, we should have already had 5 names on that list, not just Gibbs White and hope for the best.
I think the
My question to you guys is, though, is Lang more a potential football director, as in the Bergvals, the Greys of the world? Or do you think he can actually identify and secure ready-made Premier League players?
I think it's the former. I think the latter of what we had that, and maybe we'll have it again in Paratici. Because I think, wasn't it some crazy stat? Was it like 6 of the 11 that started in that final with Paratici signings in some way, shape or form? Like, I think it was Udogie, Sarr, Bentancur, Vicario. I'm trying to think who else. Romero, of course. So I from what I'm seeing, I don't know if Langer is a director of football, whatever you want to call it. I think that role is still up for debate. Because what was Scott Munn, Rossi? Because he's gone, but what was
useless.
it? Yeah, that.
He was everything to do with the club other than the team.
Right,
So
okay.
he was all about operations behind the scenes.
All of the
Obviously,
people
came
that he
from
put in.
Citigroup in Dubai,
Yeah.
and so he did everything behind the scenes.
He made a lot of staffing changes, and they've all been undone already.
Yeah.
Like they changed the head of medical, and the guy he brought in's gone already. The performance coach or the performance director also gone. Yeah. So the performance director was on holiday during the January transfer window when we had a lot of injuries. Oh, sounds great.
So it seems to me on its face there is an availability for that Paratici type role, whatever you want to market him as. Director, football director. He's more than a scout, right? But Graeme, I'd be keen to get your view on what you make of Langer's role and what he's doing well or not well. And is there because Paratici gets overlooked, I think, on all the players that he was responsible for. I mean, Kulusevski, Bentancur, Romero, Udogie. I think Vicario as well, wasn't he? Or maybe I'm wrong on that one. But I don't know.
My thoughts are, irrespective of the players that we end up getting, why are we going on tour with one new first team player in the squad? Why is every other big 6, whatever you want to call it, all the top teams, most of them had secured signings before the season had even ended, let alone after the season had ended? Why do we do business so late in the transfer window? Because now all the other players that we'd be interested in, they'll all be on tour. So even getting players is going to be complex.
I think the interesting question about that, I don't disagree. Obviously, the Kudus, and then hopefully it was going to be Morgan Gibbs White. That would have probably changed that dynamic a little bit. But the conversation is the squad good enough? Is the squad currently where it's at, the best squad? Is it good enough to be a lot further up the Premier League, if that's the number one priority, is getting back into the top 6? Is it the fact that the Tells of the world, the Bergvals, they're all 19, 20, Gray? I think Oliver turns 21 and he's, for me, he's complete waste. He needs to go out on one. But I feel that potentially there has to be, anybody that is coming in has to be that ready-made. We've been connected with David Luiz. Like, go get him. Go put him in that 6 role, and that's it. He's
Problem solved.
Third name down on.
Or Polina at Bayern Munich, who hasn't pulled up trees in Bayern Munich, but we know he's got it about him in the Premier League. We've seen it. Yeah.
So maybe there is that element that just goes, do we actually have a good enough squad already to achieve what we want to do in Thomas Frank's first year? Like, what's the expectations? What's your expectations of this year, Graeme and Glen?
Well,
with no more additions.
Currently, and you and I have knocked heads on this, Rossi, in a good way, but currently, the only man that is vindicated is Ange Postecoglou, because he's done exactly what he said he would do, and we haven't won a trophy and we're starved of silverware, and we finally won something and got it over the line. So for me, Thomas Frank's first season to be an overwhelming success, for me, it's top 6 and a cup, be that League Cup or FA Cup. Like, we're not winning Champions League, we're winning the league.
I don't think our current squad is good enough to get 6.
See, I think it is.
I don't. No,
I think it is.
Well, you're comparing us against last season, Everyone in the top 6 has gone out and spent 200 million
But
plus.
I'm comparing us to last season based on 2 factors, which I hope doesn't happen this season. You can't legislate for the crisis that was the mess of injuries that we had. And
No,
also,
absolutely.
but also, he's come out and said it after the final, and we had a manager that said we're putting all of our focus into that. I don't think Frank's ever going to do that. I think Frank's going to always be a more well-rounded, balanced manager. So I feel that 17th was a false position and is not reflective of the squad that we have. I think 17th is a product of playing kids, having injuries, and having a run in the competition that we've gone on to win, and a manager that was quite happy to take those risks and take the hits and ultimately lose his job, because that's what's happened. So that's where I see it. I think our squad is good.
But hold on. So let's go down who I think will be above us without, that's assuming that everyone plays to their level, and there's no, like, Man United won't be as bad as they were last season. They just won't. They've already made a couple of good signings and they're starting to look a bit better already.
And they have no European football.
Yeah, Man City won't be as bad as they were last season. Liverpool are even better than they were last season. Arsenal have invested heavily, and they've actually got a striker now, which they haven't had for about 2 seasons. Chelsea, Newcastle are kind of, if they lose Isaac without a significant replacement, but they're talking to Benjamin Sesko. All of the players that we should be, why are we not linked with the players that the other teams have been linked with? I tell you why, it's salaries. We won't pay the salaries. They all want 300 grand. We're not paying that.
I don't disagree.
And that's without Villa are still a decent team.
I think Villa, for PSR purposes, they've got to obviously move some players on. I don't think they'd be as good. I honestly don't. And they've got a balance.
They don't need to. They sold the women's team to themselves.
Yeah, true.
No, they did. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I saw the news. But
this is
they've got to contend with Thursday, Sunday. That's a competition that they could conceivably win. But does that come at a cost to their league form? And also Forest. I don't think Forest will be as good. I just don't. So I don't know. Rossi to be the deal breaker.
Even without the ones that I'd say there's 5 or 6 that I don't think you could say have got a worse squad than us now as we stand. And there are others that you could probably, we could have an argument about. But at the moment, that's where I think we're at. I feel like we'll be top half, and I feel it will be somewhere between 6th and 10th. And at the moment, I can't predict where that's going to be until we see us play some meaningful opposition. Yes. And hopefully we have strengthened. I think we need to strengthen. We really need to get some additional bodies in, experienced bodies.
Considering how pessimistic I was, and Glen and I have had numerous robust conversations about Ange and the squad and injuries and who is responsible. For me, I think there are 3 teams that are ahead of us, 2 guaranteed. I think Liverpool and City, that's 1, 2. I think George Gress is going to be a bust, and I'm not saying that just because he's gone to Arsenal. I just don't think his game suits the Premier League. His goals record is on 18 penalties. There's loads of different analysis around him. So I don't think Arsenal have improved from that point of view. If they go and get Eze, different conversation. I think from 3rd downwards, there's opportunities. Alanga to Newcastle weakens Forest but strengthens Newcastle. But if Isak goes to Newcastle and Ateke seems to go from Liverpool to Newcastle in a swap deal or whatever, then maybe that's different. I think that we are 2 ready-made players away from being competitive in the league. Cup games, I don't know. We've seen managers do some crazy things. Sonny as left wing back and Pochettino starting Kane in the Champions League final on one day. Yeah. I don't think you can ever legislate for cups because it's luck of the draw. We were favourites going into the Europa League. By the bookies, going into Europa League, we were favourites and United were second favourites. Guess what the final was? Take away all of the league form, don't care. That was the final because of the standard of teams that we are actually up against. We got lucky with AZ. We got lucky in a few games. I still think Ange's best tactical game was Frankfurt away. I think hands down across his 2 years, that's his YouTube video that he
played like anti-Ange football.
Yeah.
Completely changed it. I just wish he'd have done that more often in the league.
That's all he had to do. And that was my conversation with Glen, which was all he had to do was just change the tactics to fit the players that you've got. If you're playing youngsters, if you're playing players that aren't in that first 11, first 16, and you're having to play them because of injuries, regardless of the reason for injuries, then you fit the player, you fit the system to fit the players, not fit the players into shoehorning into a system. And that's why, talking about Gray, he was so tired whenever he got the chance to play at number 6 because of the 40 games he played at centre back.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that the squad is there with 2 additions.
I think the first team is there with 2 additions. I still think the squad depth is lacking. And actually, I think we're still suffering from last summer because we let 11 players go last summer. So it's a lot of experience went out the door. You could argue that some of them weren't that great, but they were experienced players that we let go. And we brought in 5 players, one of which was a ready-made first-team player. So that's a lot. So basically, that squad was filled with young players. So
I've said this ad nauseum on our episodes, but I think we missed a trick with not getting Jordan Henderson. He's gone to Brentford. I think he would have been a really good addition to the squad for experience. He can start some games. We're going to Champions League. I think it would have been a really good addition. But hey-ho, he's not coming.
Who's available on a free?
Who?
Christian Eriksen. If you want a 10, temporary 10.
I read Wrexham were interested in him.
I saw that as well,
yeah. But look, looking ahead, we're going on tour. We're not going on tour. Wish Home and Away were going on tour. I'm going to Vietnam in September though, so we'll see if I can track down some Spurs fans there. But the team's going on tour. I'm not going to obviously read the whole squad out, but the jump out ones to me that I was maybe surprised to see included because I thought maybe alone. But Yang Min Hook is going to be obviously featuring if he's going there. I think that
you would definitely take him to Korea though, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Because it's time to build Son of Sun for the merchandising opportunities.
You touched on it. Kingsley's in the squad, but sounds like he's going to Lille on loan.
Well, it's not definite yet, but there's a lot of smoke for there not to be some fire there somewhere.
Yeah, and then the others kind of you'd expect. Basuma's in there. I wonder if he's going to be out the door before the end of the transfer window. I hope he is because I think it just doesn't do enough for me. But they're missing more. He's off to Rangers on loan. Devine and Scarlett left at home to find load. Solomon, standard, injured. Kota Taki, the new centre-half's injured. And then we covered Udogie on his injury.
But it says he has a precaution for an injury, right? But yet we're taking Madison to Hong Kong.
But that's all optics.
That's really precautionary. I just feel like that's got 6 months out written all over it.
Well, I don't know if
he'll have an operation tomorrow. It'll be, and the first thing you'll know about is a picture of him in bed like that.
I saw
Not
the
Kulusevski
open
one.
top bus in Hong Kong. I think there is another parade plan with the trophy.
Jesus, no.
Yeah, so all about optics, mate. All about optics. And then, look, we don't have to do a full prediction. It's pre-season, but we've got Arsenal to look forward to, which is 12:30 UK on a Thursday, but that's lovely, and 9:30 PM for us, Rossi.
It is
Thursday evening.
I will be conducting meetings on Thursday with a second screen next to me with the game on.
And then we've got Sunday, 9 PM for us, noon for you, Graeme. We've got Newcastle.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what the up in quality of opponent does for us. But then I always temper that with it is pre-season. It's in a hot, humid environment. We're against other Premier League teams. We're not going to see full tilt football, but it'll still be interesting to see what the up in quality does.
They've been out there for a week already, I think.
Yeah,
because they've played a couple of games.
Well, Arsenal played Newcastle in Singapore the other day.
Okay, yeah.
So they've been out there. But
wasn't the last time we were in Hong Kong when it got rained out because it was just like torrential rain and nobody touched the pitch?
Isn't that the game that was supposed to be Roma, but it ended up being a local team?
It was weird. One? And then we had a
Shanghai something Sailors. It was.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what. Yeah, rained out, but yeah. Look, I'll take Spurs as a 9 or 9:30 kickoff, whether they're playing tiddlywinks. It'd be nice to see them in a decent kickoff setting. But yeah,
what's your prediction for the match then? Bearing in
think the
mind, it will
Arsenal-
probably be two separate teams again.
I think the Arsenal game will be something ridiculous, like a 3-3 or something, but not because anybody's played particularly well. I think it will just be one of those mad, because they just beat Newcastle 3-2, I think. So they've goals. So I see lots of goals, probably by virtue of mistakes. But Rossi, you're going to put a prediction on the meaningless North London derby since maybe the Charity Shield that we shared.
I think draw, and I think a high scoring draw. So 2-2, 3-3.
Yeah, yeah.
I think obviously the team selection makes a massive difference there. Whether if it's Porro, Romero, VDV, and Davis versus Spence, Vucevic, whoever else.
Danso, probably.
And so, yeah.
So I think that will always indicate as well. I would like to see us, we're going to split squad, but I'd like to see us play a strong 11 against one of them and then
Gradually bring players in rather than just straight swap everyone, maybe.
I would like to see that. Certainly.
My worry...
High scoring draw. And then I think the Newcastle game, Sonny will score and that's his farewell.
We haven't even covered that, have we? That the LAFC seems very real interest.
But I think it'll be down to him. He can do, as far as I'm concerned, he can make his decision to bow out as he sees fit. My only thing would be, I would really have liked him to have had a home game for us to give him a proper send-off. Yeah. And we don't have any home friendlies before the start of the season.
And would it be short-sighted to keep him around and then do it on the Burnley first game of the season? But then that seems emotion ahead of business, right? We want all of our business sorted out.
Well, the other side of that is the LAFC side, which is, they're 3/4 of the way through their season.
Yeah, good point, Ashley.
So they might not join until the end of the season anyway.
Maybe it's a January transfer. I know the MLS season is now, because of the World Cup next year as well, they're doing it in 2 phases next year. So I think maybe January, give him 3 months to do his farewell tour, and then away you go.
Yeah. My worry is that for the Arsenal game is if Maddison's not fit. Do you really want Maddison to play his first game back after injury against Arsenal in any game? I don't think so.
And it's getting a bit overlooked. You're dealing with probably 30 plus degrees and 100% humidity. Like, it's not ideal conditions at all. And I think the pitch has come in for some flack as well. It's not a good surface. Lots to consider there.
Yeah, I'd just play all the kids. Just take it on the chin.
Yeah.
No, I'm usually reasonably balanced about these, but I'm worried that we might get a bit of a cane in and it might set us up badly for the rest of the pre-season. The problem is that it's a really, really bad choice of pre-season fixture, in my opinion. I would never play them because there's never a game where we play them when everything's not on the line. And that's not what you need in pre-season, especially when we've got players that aren't 100% fit and some coming back from injury. This has got further injuries written all over it for me. And I hope I'm wrong. And I hope it's a nothing game, a nice 1-1 draw with nothing really happens will be my good outcome for me.
Do you remember in the 90s, I used to have, I think it was called the London Fives or the London Sixes, where there would be legends of clubs that would play indoor, and Tottenham played Arsenal, and I think it was Mickey Hazard and Paul Merson, I'm sure, or some. Anyway, they just went at it and they ended up scrapping, and it was like, that was like, so there's something on the line for it because it's Tottenham Arsenal, right?
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Yeah. No, indeed. Well, I didn't have a whole lot else other than to thank Rossi for joining us. It's been great to have you on, mate. I don't know if you have anything to add before we close out. But as I'll maybe turn it over to you, Rossi, for final thoughts. But before I do, as always, come on, you Spurs. But over to you, Rossi.
For me, thank you very much for having me on. I absolutely loved it. Instead of just typing these words to Glen on a group chat, it's actually talking. Next time, let's do it at a more convenient time where we've got beers rather than...
we can do that, absolutely.
And coffee. Yeah. I'm not reading anything into this tour other than it's just a promotional tour. I don't care about the results. We can talk probably for at least another 5 hours about Frank's first 10 games and historically where he's lost 9 and only drawn 1. Is that going to take a play into this tour? Is Solanke the striker that we want? For me, no. But
is he the one that we deserve, or
it's a different conversation?
I mean,
for a different time.
I guess until we see him play in a full strength team, because I feel like he was underserved by the team last season. I don't think that Ange's team was particularly well set up to provide chances for him, especially if you're playing Brennan Johnson and Son either side of him, because they're not creative. They're not going to create a lot of chances for him. So he was kind of back to goal. He did a lot of work, but it was busy work. Unfortunately, I'd like to see him facing the goal in between the 18-yard lines and having more shots. Let's hope. We can only hope.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, take us home, Graeme. Close us out, mate.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who's listened in. Please like and subscribe to the podcast to tickle the algorithm so we can get in front of more Spurs supporters. And before I finish, I have to say, my tickle the algorithm was actually quoted by someone else on social media this week. So it looks like I've got a catchphrase.
Yeah.
So to close us out, come on, you Spurs.